teams who will overachieve in 2022 playing the ACC. Again, we're including Notre Dame here because Notre Dame plays a mostly ACC schedule and has an open marriage with the ACC, even as a Catholic university. I'm never not going to point that out. I'm always going to point that out. That's the most fun thing to me ever. So you get to play in the ACC without any of the drawbacks of playing the ACC, and you get to have mostly a pretty doggone cool non-conference schedule. But the over-under on them is 8.5. That means all they got to do is win 9 games for you to get your money. And on this show, I like for you to get your money. You get your money, you're very happy with me. So Tommy Rees and Tyler Buckner are going to have to make use of Michael Mayer, Mr. Halloween himself, who caught 71 passes for 840 yards last year at the tight end position. That's also going to be even more important as they suffered a couple of injuries to their wide receiver core. But more than that, you're going to need the offensive line to be good. And I mean that, like good, because it doesn't matter if it's Chris Tyree back there or Kyron Williams who's gone to the NFL. If you can't protect anybody, it's going to be a long damn season. Now, the offensive line at Notre Dame gave up 35 sacks and 82 tackles for loss. That's bad, guys. That's not what Blake Fisher and Joe Alt are there to do. And now, by naming Tyler Buckner the starting quarterback, you have a dude who has in his DNA, if it's breaking down, I need to run. Now, there's only so much of that you can do before somebody absolutely decleats you, and you can't play much quarterback if you got a concussion, all right? So you have to give him every reason to stand back there and throw passes rather than take off running because you can't protect him. That's not a good recipe for anybody. Just ask Tommy Rees, who played quarterback at Notre Dame. Okay, defensively, I think they're going to be pretty doggone stout. We're talking about Brandon Joseph coming in to play some safety to replace an outstanding safety in Kyle Hamilton. But the thing is, Kyle Hamilton was All-American. Brandon Joseph was also an All-American at Northwestern. Do you know how hard it is to win All-American honors as a defender at Northwestern? That's what Brandon Joseph was capable of doing. I'm excited to see him in that defensive backfield for Al Golden, to which I'm saying to Al Golden, all I'm asking you, dog, all I'm really asking you is to not mess up a good thing, okay? You got outstanding linebackers in J.D. Bertrand and Jack Kaiser. Let those dudes seek and destroy, okay? You have outstanding cornerback and defensive back play in Joseph, Cam Hart, Clarence Lewis. They're all good. All you got to do is stay out of their way, all right? Coach the linebackers up, take the feedback from Marcus Freeman, and make your mans look good. Your mans being me, Al, all right? I would like you to be golden. That's what I'm saying. So you got Clemson on November 5th. You make light work of Clemson because they are overrated and overranked, but, that's what you do, apparently, if you are a pollster. You look at somebody's resume for the past 10, 20, 30 years, and you say, yeah, I'll rank them like Michigan. I'm not going to let that go either. Y'all, we going to have this one out all year because y'all chose to make it a thing. I didn't want to make it a thing. I like talking about the stuff I like. I just left them off, and now I got to talk about it. Now, talking about Notre Dame being good, which, by the way, for me, brand new, man. I've never had good things to say about Notre Dame, and all of a sudden, Marcus Freeman gets the job, and I'm looking around here for an Irish jersey. You know how wild that is for me? Like, my parents don't even recognize me. It's like, for real? You going with this dude with the natural? Like, hey, look, any man that looks like Marcus Freeman and can get an edge up in South Bend like Marcus Freeman got my full support, all right? Having been to South Bend and trying to find an edge up. Saying, man, whatever the dorm room culture over there, it's got to be elite. Okay. Another team, I believe, will overperform. I touched on a little bit earlier in the show. North Carolina at over 8.5. Again, I think the way to look at this is all the good things you saw from Pitt last year, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison, right? Mark Whipple, are things that I'm going to point you to for North Carolina State this year. They have all the continuity. Dave Doran has been doing an outstanding job in that state for the last 3 years and finally going to start paying some attention there. I mentioned that Devin Leary is coming off of an outstanding season with 3,400 plus passing yards, 35 TDs, and 5 interceptions. But really, the way to look at this is that the North Carolina State defense was outstanding. 14th in the entire country in scoring defense. And they returned a ton of that talent on that 2021 defense, led by safety Tanner Engel, who was all ACC first team with 82 tackles at the safety position. But the reason I'm so bullish on this defense is they were good at picking off passes. They were terrible at recovering forced fumbles. They forced 11 fumbles. They recovered not a single one of them. If they even got 5 of those, that's a change of possession. That's up to 6, 7 points for your team if you just get your hands on the ball after you knock it loose. They have Clemson on October 1, for which I guess the rest of the country will catch up to where we are in August going, we told y'all the Wolfpack was going to be good. And if they're not, we just won't mention it. Now, to teams who will underachieve. At the top of the list for me is Clemson at 10.5. That means to get your money, they got to win 11 games. They got to win 11 games without Brent Venables, Todd Bates, who is responsible for those outstanding defensive lines, and Tony Elliott. That's a tall task for me, even if it is Dabo Swinney as the head coach there. And then you need DJ Uiagalelei to play like the kind of player his talent leads you to believe he could become. This is a guy who completed just 56% of his passes with 10 TDs to 9 interceptions, 9 TDs to 10 interceptions in 2021. He's also got an extremely talented quarterback in Cade Klubnik breathing down his neck. At one point, I thought that DJ Uiagalelei was a better player, or could be a better player, than Trevor Lawrence. And he showed some of that in 2020 when Lawrence was forced to miss games due to COVID. He brought Clemson back from 18 down against Boston College in a win and played outstanding football against Notre Dame in South Bend. Haven't seen that guy since. Would love to see that guy in 2022. You're also going to need outstanding play from the wide receiver group. Now, this is a place that has just one big play threat returning on the outside in Joe Nada, and he had just 23 catches all of last year. You're going to need somebody else to step up there. Justin Ross is gone. You also need Kobe Pace or Will Shipley to prove they are the bell cow back. Between the two of them, they had 1,400 yards rushing and 17 TDs. But I need one of those guys to rise to the level of a Travis Etienne. And I think they could do that. I think that's within both of them. I would have bet on Shipley before last year. Now, I can't call it, but I'm going to have to see it for Clemson to get anything like close to 10 wins, let alone 11. Defensively, Brian Brzee, Tyler Davis, Miles Murphy, Sheridan Jones, that's going to be really the backstop of your defense because there is no James Skalski anymore, right? You got to figure out what that looks like and how to get past that at the Mike linebacker position. Maybe Tyler Davis is that guy for you. Hopefully he's that guy for you. Otherwise, it's going to be real tough sledding for Clemson, but I'm just not willing to bet on them winning 11 games this year, given all the change that they have and how much stouter I think the ACC has become. Another team that I think is going to underachieve is Virginia at under 7.5. I mentioned the problems with the offensive line. I don't need to go any further than that. Defensively, I mentioned that they were bad. You also got a change in coordinator. You got a change in head coach. You don't have a whole hell of a lot of continuity, and Tony Elliott's going to figure out just how difficult it is to compete in that division, let alone try to win the ACC championship against his former employer, that is Clemson, and it's been theirs for some time. Okay. Let's move from that segment to this segment. The best bet to put money in the bag. All right. Love this one. Okay. There's actually 2 here that I'm excited about because they're really good FCS teams, to say nothing of the teams that they're going to play against or in some moment of change. So at number 1, I have Richmond at UVA. This game is also going to be worth $430,000 to the Richmond Spiders. Now, the Spiders have entered into the preseason poll at number 25, according to Hero Sports, which covers a whole bunch of FCS topics and does a fantastic job there. They're coming off a 6-5 record last year, but if you were paying attention, they won their last 4 in a row. They feel very good. Defensively, they have linebacker Tristan Wheeler coming back from 2 back-to-back 100 tackle seasons, and he is an All-American as a redshirt junior. And then offensively, they have quarterback Reese Udinski, who's coming back as the FCS top returning passer with over 7,800 pass yards and 48 TDs in 27 games. If that name sounds familiar, he did a short bit at Maryland where he was going to do the guy that was supposed to be challenging Talia Tagovailoa. Just didn't work out that way. Now he's back at Richmond. I think they have an opportunity to catch Virginia unaware or off guard or just not prepared based on all the change that Virginia's seen. Okay. Next team that I think we need to talk about that is probably or could put money in the bag, North Carolina, who's going to host Florida A&M, and that game is worth $450,000 to Florida A&M. Now, North Carolina also is in a season of change, okay? Changing up the defensive coordinator. Mac Brown has tabbed Gene Chizik to come in, try to help him rebuild this defense into something that is elite at a moment when nobody knows who the quarterback is going to be, and Phil Longo's got a really tough decision there with Jacoby Criswell and Drake May. If Drake May's name sounds familiar, he was at one point committed to Alabama, flipped his commitment to North Carolina. Not unlike when Sam Howell was committed to Florida State, flipped his commitment to North Carolina. And Mac Brown would be the first person to tell you, and I give him a lot of credit for this. North Carolina got to be good and feel good because Sam Howell picked them. He is a change agent for the Tar Heels. That's a difficult kind of player to replace. Just is. And that is the most singular position in all of sports, let alone at any program at a season of change, is to know that you got to break in a new guy at quarterback. So that's tough. Coming off a 6-7 year in which they started the year last year as preseason number 10, you just squandered the last year of Sam Howell, and it didn't go as well as you want. Now, what Gene Chizik has that I think could prove hard against Florida A&M is outstanding cornerback play. Tony Grimes and Storm Duck, really great corners, okay? To say nothing of great names. Grime Time and Storm Duck. Love this. Tony Grimes also reclassified to get to North Carolina early, not unlike Quinn Ewers did a year later to get to Ohio State early before transferring to Texas. But the problem for them is Florida A&M is good. Like, legitimately good. And they've gotten better. They added Isaiah Conley, who transferred in from Coastal Carolina to Florida A&M, and he's got a lot of tread left on those tires. You might even say he's on the softs. 19 carries, 94 yards at Coastal. He's going to try to help them make up for the loss that, well, losing Bishop Bonnet is, right? 972 rush yards for the Rattlers last year. Outstanding for them. If Willie Simmons identifies the right guy to be the quarterback for that game, could be some fireworks, right? Rayshawn McKay and Vandy transfer Jeremy Mosa are the two guys that are competing for the job. Rayshawn is probably the dude that most people expect to start the season, but I don't know if he's going to finish that. This is a guy who got the bench during the game against Jackson State. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but Florida A&M lost 7-6 to a Jackson State team that everybody believes is good. Won 11 games, is in the Hero Top 25 at number 19. And in the Orange Blossom Classic, which is basically, for me, the biggest bowl game of the preseason or of the start of the season, that team is probably going to be the front runner, the presumptive favorite to win the SWAC and the Black College Football National Championship. What I'm saying here is you're playing one of the better teams in HBCU football and FCS football to open your season at North Carolina at a season of change. Okay? The only thing you have going for you is that you won a bunch of games at Kenan Stadium. You were 0-6 away from them. Now you got to ask Florida A&M to come up from Tallahassee to see if they'll just collect their money and leave, or if they'll collect their money and take that W with them. I'm excited to see what this looks like. Thanks for watching this video, and remember, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos on the #1 Ranked Show YouTube channel.